the Prime Minister speaking at BRICS Summit, talking about how government has rolled out a red carpet, has done away with red tapeism. Also, in fact, talking about, as you mentioned, successes of the Modi government, GST being one, the new insolvency bankruptcy code being another, and all of that reflective, of course, in our growth numbers. The last financial year, which is financial year 23, the overall growth came in at about 7.3%, surprising a lot of people. Many are now predicting that the first quarter of this financial year, in fact, has been stellar. Growth could be over 8%. Let's quickly get in my colleague Amit Ranjan into this conversation. Amit, will also, of course, briefly touch on what the SBI report has to say. The SBI report pegging India's growth in the first quarter of this financial year at over 8%. That, of course, is good news.
8.3%, and they have got something known as the artificial neural network, which takes 30 indicators to arrive at these figures. I believe a lot of artificial intelligence and algorithms are going into that. Yeah, but that is on the back of a lot of jump in capex this year, which is at close to 3 lakh crores for the first quarter, and they are looking at 10 lakh crore figure for the whole year, which will be the biggest. It is a 63% jump from last year in June itself. So, capacity utilization was a problem. We were in the 70% range. We have to go above 80, and government is taking that seriously. If that happens with this, and some of the states are following suit, the corporate indices are very good this year, so that will also add up. So 8.3 is good for this first quarter, but they have also said this is last quarter also 22 it was 13.1%. So there's some 13.1% the growth. This time it is 8.3.
Okay.
I believe the April-June quarter, which is the first quarter of every financial year post budget, has something where the jumps happen. Probably Karthik may be able to clear that out.
So, I think numbers, of course, we will get to know the real numbers as they come out on the 31st of August.
Yes.
And 31st of August is when we'll actually get the growth figure. But, 8.3, of course, seems a bit of an over-optimistic number, if you ask me. Capex investments are happening. Capex investments, incidentally, are happening in states which are going to elections this year. So, I think some sort of job creation and showing some uptake in investments by way of state GDP growth is something that is incumbent on states which are going in elections this year. But 8.3%, well, I mean, if it happens, great, it's going to be good news. Juxtapose it against, let's say, IMF projecting India to grow at 7.1%. A delta of 120 basis points seems a little too high. Not that IMF or World Bank have got it right every time, but there hasn't been such a major mismatch between numbers. So, if this number comes out, again, we have to remember these numbers will come on the back of capex investments.
Right, but given that IMF is projecting at over 7% for the entire financial year, and this is solely for the first quarter, second quarter it could come down, and subsequently, could that delta then be narrowed?
Is saying that, you're right. So the EcoRap report is actually saying that for the whole year, growth would come at about 6.5%, right? I was just coming to that. So 6.5%, excess of 6.5% for the year, where 8.3% coming from the first quarter itself suggests that there is going to be a much lower than 6.5% growth for the subsequent 3 quarters, for the number to average out to about 6.5 and nearabouts.
6 in the next one.
Yeah, so now I think what is important to note is that if this growth is coming on the back of capex investments and capex investments only, we still have a long way to catch up when we talk about our own consumption story picking up. And we have seen there are other indicators, let's say, auto industry, for example. 2 million cars have been sold in the first 6 months of this calendar year. So, even if we were to sort of, divide it equally, the April to June quarter would have seen about 1 million cars sold, and registered in India. So, there is consumption happening, but is this consumption a holistic consumption, or is it only an urban India phenomena? And that brings to these fundamental questions about economic growth, that is the economic growth equitable? Is the economic growth balanced across all sections of society? And if that is not the case, then, just growth numbers by account of public infrastructure spending by government, state or central governments, will add to the GDP number, but will not really add to equitable growth as the country deserves right now. Add to that the reduction in demand which we have seen, and the massive inflation on food and vegetables. This is something which is going to, I mean, the high inflation came in the month of July, started in June and all of July. But Q2 numbers, when they come out, we are likely to see a much larger reduction in consumption. So even if government spending continues, and this government spending again is coming from the taxes paid by people like the three of us, you know, the middle class of this country. So consumption, especially on essentials, food items, soaring. And if that seems to be the mood of the economy, then even these growth figures of 8% and upwards don't really cut it when it comes to the common man.
All right, so
it
it's
will
going
show
to be
in the next
way
quarter
steeper.
where the projections of the SPI
Right.
is 6%, so way down. For
Way
the next
down,
quarter.
way
But I
down in
think
the
31st
second
August is
quarter.
what we should
Yes,
really
we
wait
should be
for
waiting
and
for
see
that.
what was our real growth number for Q1.
Absolutely.